Also to come this hour, with Parliament scheduled to resume sitting on Tuesday, October 21st, we explore the business of the House.
With some water treatment plants threatened by activities of illegal mining, the managing director of the company has revealed there's been significant improvement in surface stability, but riverbeds remain heavily silted, plus 64 million cedis used for dredging.
Well, you're welcome to a brand new week of News Central. I'm Kemini Amanor.
And I am Mawuena Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now.
Now, Managing Director of the Ghana Water Limited, Adam Mutawakilu, has admitted a significant improvement in surface turbidity, but riverbeds remain heavily silted. He was addressing the media in Accra a few minutes ago.
These actions are using encouraging signs. In some of our rivers, you can see the turbidity dropping consistently over the period. We have observed significant improvement in surface turbidity, but let it be clear, the riverbeds remain heavily silted. Without sustaining desilting operations, our pumps will continue to struggle to deliver quality water. So because of the siltation, even if the surface water is good, our pumps are submersible pumps. They are storage.
Well, let's connect now with George Quenin, a reporter who attended this news conference, who's on standby with the CEO of the water company. George, talk to us. When he said turbidity was low now, what did he mean?
Thank you so much, Kemini. And we're coming to you live from the head office of the Ghana Water Company Limited. Well, I've managed to get the MD here, Adam Mutawakilu, and he'll just break these things down. Like he said, turbidity of the water, he will break it down. So viewers want to know, what is the meaning of turbidity? You are saying there's been some significant improvements in that.
The turbidity simply means that the natural water we have, they are contaminated. That has made it difficult for the plant to progress. The turbidity could come from sand. It could come from chemicals, assuming you have a community just by the river, they wash their things, they throw it into the. It could come from minerals, the use of chemicals. So when it changes the normal chemistry of the water, making it difficult for our plants to operate, then we say the turbidity has gone beyond the capacity of the plant.
Okay, so there's improvement, but the banks are
at a certain level.
Okay.
In some, they can operate if it is 20 NTU, they can still operate. Some even 40 NTU, they can still operate. Every water has turbidity. Like Peve, when it was just 3 NTU. So that is very low, the plant can operate. So when it goes beyond the capacity of the plant, then that is where we try out that the turbidity has gone higher than the treatment.
I just got to realize that apart from galamsey, construction, farming activity is also worrying operation.
Very, very well. As I indicated, in Volta region, we have a problem at Peve. As at yesterday, they have to stop production. Because the rain has brought so much sand, and it has increased the turbidity because someone is constructing along the intake. Just along the intake. And it has also high turbidity, they have to shut down.
And how will they cope? How will they get water?
That means that is the challenge. That is the challenge. And that's why we need to work on this to make sure that the water, some construction, some sand winning, if you go to Tamale Dalong, it's not illegal mining. It's silted because people are doing sand winning for building of houses and other construction. So it has silted. If you go to Jambuse in Upper West, it has a lot of sand winning. If you go to Berekesi, the Okiriba is not that heavily illegal mining taking place. But it's okay. As we speak, in 2022, the World Bank said about 6 million cubic meters of salt is being deposited there. That is making it difficult for the plant to produce.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and because of that, instead of using alum, we have to use polymers.
Which is expensive.
Which is 5 times more expensive than alum.
But do you fear there are times where we will have to import water?
I believe that we have enough storage.
Okay.
For now. Okay. Thank God we need to protect the Volta lake.
Okay.
And I always believe that any type of water treatment plant to be constructed should be constructed along the Volta lake. Because turbidity is very low when it is in volume like pond.
Okay.
If you go to pond, because the volume of water there is huge, the turbidity is quite okay.
Well, if you just
I see, George, and just before you let him go, George, what about the chemical levels in the water?
Okay,
what's
so Kemini wants to know the chemical. So Kemini wants to know the water levels in the water. But apart from that, I know you want to use some 300 million to silt your plants that have been affected. So you're calling on corporate Ghana to do that. So let's answer this and come to Kemini straight today.
We realize that Ghana Water alone cannot have that budget to execute. Those within our budget, we are doing it on our own, but it has gotten to a level where we have to call on corporate Ghana to help us. Because the present effort is in fighting galamsey yielding results. I'll say that. Because as we speak, Kwanyako, the time I visited there, we couldn't produce. Now we are producing 100%. But what did we do? When we realized that the water that was coming was quite okay in terms of turbidity, we have to move the pumps up because we're using submersible pump, not surface or horizontal pumps. When we engineered and brought them up, it's producing 100% now. But at that level, as the dry season approaches, the water level will drop. How about if it drops below we have planted the pumps? And when it gets where it's salted, what can we do? But if we desalt, it performs 2 functions. One, we make sure that all year round we have water because we will be able to contain enough water for the whole year so that we don't dry out during it. 2, once it is deep, any cell that comes will quickly settle down and we can now pump water. So it will increase the volume of water at the reservoir, and 2, we'll be able to pump clean water.
So briefly, Kemini wants to know the chemical levels of this water, just briefly.
I can't tell. It changes with time. It's not constant.
Sure.
You see, the time we visited Kwanyako is over 9,000, 11,000, when it's supposed to take about 2,000 NTU. So the turbidity is not like fixed. So because of that, hourly turbidity, taking the turbidity every hour at each per plant is ongoing.
Sure. So Adam Mutawa is the MD of Ghana Water Company. So Kemini, this is the update from this very engagement with the media.
Very well, George, thank you so much for bringing us that interview. George Quinn there in that brief conversation with Managing Director for Ghana Water Company Limited, Adam Mutawa Wakilu. He's been talking to us about events to do with the improving turbidity levels of our water sources, really, across the country. We can now turn attention to other stories.
Now, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has filed fresh charges against former CEO of the National Petroleum Authority, Mustafa Abdul Hamid, and 9 others. The charges amended brings to a total of 54 counts from the previous 25. Mustafa Hamid and the 9 others are facing multiple charges, including extortion, abuse of public office, and money laundering, totaling in excess of 291 million cedis in the Ghanaian cedi, and then $332,000 US. According to the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the accused persons allegedly extorted hundreds of millions of cedis and foreign currency from bulk oil transporters and oil marketing companies under the guise of official duties. In court today, however, the accused persons were informed about an adjournment due to the unavailability of the judge. Let's connect with Lord Idwasari is my colleague in court for us this afternoon, because quite a number of issues. We also know that there's a development on the SkyTrain. But Lord, let's start from these amended charges as we've seen the Office of the Special Prosecutor file. Talk to us about it and what it means for the case.
Right, Mawuena, and so essentially, like you indicated, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, they noted that due to the acquisition of new evidence or the discovery of new evidence, they have had reason to, as it were, amend the new charges. And so in court today, we're expecting them to withdraw the old charges that had to do with the 25 counts and then put before the court the fresh charges, in addition to which is the 29, to make it the total of 54. But that could not happen because of the new development. Now, Mawuena, I need to put on record that the case would have been heard at the Criminal Court 3, which is normally presided over by the substantive judge, who is Justice Mawuena Egbeta. We are learning that she's been elevated to the Court of Appeal, and this was the reason why she was absent in court today. And so as it stands now, that court, Criminal Court 3, has no judge, and that was the reason why the case could not come off. Now, these new charges proffered against Mustafa Hamid and then the 9 others had to do with multiple counts of money laundering. You outlined some of the reasons, the 2 incidents of the monies, which was, as it were, with the... Man, I can't hear. I think I'm
Lord, I can still quite hear you. I can hear you very well.
Great. Yeah. So basically, the money has to do with the multiple counts of money laundering, which the special prosecutor indicated that they siphoned from working with the other OMCs, with the guys of working at the National Petroleum Authority, and so that was how come these charges were proffered against them. Now, Mustafa Hamid himself, he was present with his lawyers, and then some of the other accused persons here appeared happy and hale, but the case could not come on. So we are waiting to see how things will pan out, because the case has been adjourned to November 13, where we are expecting them to, where we are asking the special prosecutor to put before the court the new charges after withdrawing the old charges.
Right. Let's talk briefly about the SkyTrain matter as well. We know there's an update in relation to that. Talk to us about that update.
Indeed. So at the last agenda, the former board chair, Professor Christopher Ameokunfi, he communicated to the court that he was having some misunderstanding with his lawyer, for which reason the lawyer had withdrawn his services. And so they were expecting to find out if he had been able to secure the services of a new lawyer, or he had resolved that issue with the old lawyer, for want of a better word. But he himself, he was absent in court today. The first accused person, Solomon Asamoah, he was present with his counsel, Victoria Bass, and then the prosecution was represented by the State Attorney, Stefako. Now, they indicated that they had filed an affidavit in opposition to that application to stay proceedings by the defense counsel. Now, Mawuena, they had filed an application to stay proceedings because they had filed an appeal against that decision by the High Court, and so they wanted to move that application, but there's been a development that the prosecution has also filed an affidavit in opposition, and they served it on them today. And so Victoria Bass, the lead counsel for Solomon Asamoah, indicated to the court that they had just been served, and so pray for an adjournment to go process this documentation, and then we'll move forward from there. Right, so we're back in court on Wednesday on this matter, and we'll see if Professor Ameokunfi will be in court with a new lawyer, or we'll know if there's been a resolution. And then the court will hear that application to stay proceedings.
Right then, Lord, thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague, Lord Eduasare, with details therefore as from the court in relation to two matters. The first is the OSP amending charges, and so from what Lord tells us, he's expected to withdraw the first one and then put in the new or the fresh charges, 54 in total, up from 25, and as well, Professor Mayor Kumfi also expected in court. We'll switch from this and bring you politics because there's quite a lot developing on that front as well. And eyes remain fixed on the New Patriotic Party's January 31st primary to elect a new flag bearer. Now, while that race has picked up considerable heat, another race of equal importance is picking up steam. The race for who becomes General Secretary of the opposition New Patriotic Party has drawn out interesting names, with former members of Parliament vying for a seat at the decision-making table of the largest opposition party in the country. The latest is former Ablekuma West MP Eslo Uswe-Kufu's, as of today, declared her intention to contest the position. This brings to 5 the number of people who've declared a willingness to contest. We'll walk you through this afternoon details of the individuals who have decided to be a part of this. And I mentioned 5 of them. Let's try and get the details for you. And Eslo Uswe-Kufu, most notable, since she decided to make her intent known today, is number 1 on our, in terms of the individuals we're taking a look at. And that's her. She's a former member of Parliament for Ablekuma West, and also the Minister for Communication and Digitalization under the previous administration. She's made her intent known, and so we know that she will be on that ballot paper. That's if all things remain equal. Then there is, have to have this checked, there is as well the Justin Frimpong Kodia, who is the incumbent General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. He says he's going to contest as well, and he will be a person of interest in this particular one as well. He's the man everybody will be seeking to beat, and that remains to be seen if it is the reality. Also, vying for that position, Eugene Boachi-Entry is a former member of Parliament for the Subin constituency as well. He had made his intention known very early, very, very early. He continues as well to be a person of interest in this particular race. And then we know as well Sylvester Tete, former member of Parliament for English Yamanfrom and Deputy Minister for Information as well. And so out of the list, we've seen 3 of them who are former members of Parliament from the immediate 8th Parliament, as well as Ministers of State. And then the last we know, Henry Kwabena Kokofu is a former EPA boss and also a former member of Parliament for the Bantama constituency. Let's try and subject all of this to a bit more in terms of analysis as to the faces we're seeing and the messaging, because Ursula says it's time to rescue the party. Is it really the case? And why so many individuals interested in this position of General Secretary? Let's speak to Dr. Samuel Efrie. He's a political analyst who's joined us via Zoom this afternoon. Doc, always a pleasure talking to you. Good afternoon. I trust that you're well.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mawuena. Doing well, and I hope you too.
By God's grace. Let's get into it in terms of the faces we're seeing, the individuals amongst many other things. This is looking like a race that will pick up a lot of interest and has indications to go right down to the wire.
Yes, and I greet your cherished viewers as well. You know, after the MPP presidential elections in January 31st, then comes in for the national executives. And you know, that will also be one of the areas that will be keenly contested, especially all the positions. But you realize that for now, the secretary position is highly contested in terms of people that are coming in. And you know, all these positions, that is the general secretary, the MPP structure is quite different from the NDC, where the MPP, the general secretary, is at least the position that secretary, that the position of that one is it weights much power and also authority within the party structure. So if you hold that position, that means that actually you hold that the party as well. So when you remember, you realize that the current executives has had some quite challenges in terms of their leadership, where the chairman is at least to use the word incapacitated for him not to perform. And at the same time, you have the secretary and other executives as well. But their performance currently, you realize that the national executive is not much up to expectation of the grassroots level. So now members of the party are yearning for people who can give them hope, who can put the party onto a system where a winning machine system for election 2028. So they want people who are capable, people who are skillful, people who have the experience. So it will not be for first timers that will come in to try. That is what the grassroots might be expecting. They want people who are well positioned within the party to carry on the party. But that is when we realize that for the general secretary for the MPP, I think it's a main dominated position all this while. So for Esla coming in will be challenging enough, but you know that for her, she has built herself strategically within the party, that currently you realize that she is one of them that when it comes to the party structure, most of the top experience, being a minister for all this while, I think for 8 years, and also a gender activist, you talk about MP. So when you compare with the May contestant, I think that she can also fit in and fight for her position as well. But
let's zero in on Esla as to what she brings into the position, and these are all hypotheticals. In fact, you've spoken to her acumen, the level she's risen to in terms of political office. But what will she be bringing to the position like the general secretary of the New Patriotic Party? Were she to go on and win it, the sort of individual she is, what she will bring, the dynamism and what have you that she will bring to that position for the New Patriotic Party?
Yes, Mawuena, you can see that she brings in a lot of experience. Also comes along with the grassroots. You see, she's known within the party for all this while, especially when it comes to activists. In terms of, he's one of those women that can fight. When I talk about fight, can express a view, can be confrontational. That is the kind of Esla that we all know when we talk about gender activists, when we talk about his poster. So for now, the MPP or the grassroots want someone who can manage the party, at the same time can also make the party visible in terms of what the party stands in for. So for me, and I also learned that the women organizer, the other lady from I also want to contest. So when you look at the position of Esla comes along with a lot of male power kind of visibility for her to able to handle that position. Administratively, be a legal person, being a minister, when it comes to administrative, I think that she is the more qualified one, but is a main dominant. The issue is that is a main dominant position, and she coming in, the question is, can she perform? Can she handle the position? Can the grassroots also trust her for that position? And that is what matters. And I think that for some of us sitting afar and observing afar, I think she qualifies and she can bring a lot to bear for the party. And looking at the situation where now the party, should I use the word imbalance in terms of the president, because the role of the general secretary will be critical after the election, because wherever it goes, it still will bring the party into a level of differences and maybe conflicts where the general secretary need to play a key role in this direction.
Just quickly,
a male,
just quickly on the incumbent himself, what does this say about him, considering that we're seeing 4 people already line up wanting to challenge him for that position. A vote of no confidence in him, or this is a contest everybody can be a part of, and so it's just fair that people challenge him. Just briefly.
Well, Mawuena, I think I'm one of those that have been asking for the block resignation of the current executive once the party lost in 2024, because for me, they don't, because if in your term the party has lost briefly and all the executives should have even apologized to the party members and resign on block and come along with an interim executive to even run these elections. So for me, I don't think that the current executive deserve some kind of re-election. I think they have to bring in more or new faces for the rebrand of the party or to reposition the party. If not, I'm sorry that you might not see how this will, because the MPP party is a party of high level, kind of educated and those kind of, and you need to have a cloud within the party leadership so that you can control them. And I know the current secretary has lost it because he doesn't have that cloud to hold those members, as me to use the word, the big men in the party. But I think you need a secretary that's tough, because I've been comparing the executive of the NDC and the MPP and realize that the MPP falls short of the kind of cloud that we are talking about.
Right then, Doc, appreciate as always you speaking to us. That's Dr. Samuel Afriyie speaking to us. And we're going to stay on matters relating to the NPP because Kennedy Ohinye-Agyapong has tightened his grip on the New Patriotic Party's presidential race, polling 44.1% of delegate support in a worst-case scenario and 53.8% in a best-case scenario. That's according to a new survey by Dr. Evans Dia conducted between September 22nd and October 5, 2025. The research also puts Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in second place with between 32.2% and 39.5%. Dr. Brian Achampong trails in third with between 6.3 and 8.3%. Dr. Yosei Duchum and Kwabena Agyapong follow with modest gains, polling 3.2 and 0.9% respectively. Now, according to the survey, the former Assistant Central lawmaker could lead in 11 regions. Let's hear from Dr. Kusi as he explains his findings.
It's a follow-up of the polls that we conducted from August. This was conducted from 22nd of September all the way to the 5th of October. And this one builds on August, so we'll look at whether there has been some changes between August and now. We are looking at the changes in terms of the candidate support across region, across constituencies, and also nationally. And we are looking at what is happening with undecided and then undisclosed. So the analysis is looking at the shift between the delegate preferences for the presidential candidates. What are some of the regional concentrations and the influence? Are there any strategic balance between the leading contenders? And then we run a true or dual model, which I explain to you very soon. Out of the 204,893 as at October 2025, we sampled a total of 26,150 delegates. Now, this is a 12.76 percentage representation of the total population. This means that it is quite significant enough, at the same time representative enough.
Noble Crosby Annan is my colleague. He's joining us with a bit more in terms of the details from the... Crosby, did the good doctor explain how he came about these findings?
Mawuena, so Dr. Kusi explained that this data he has gathered is from a sample of 26,150 delegates, and that, in fact, according to the number of delegates to vote in the NPP presidential primaries, it's about 12.76%, and he says that's a good representation, and he explained the dynamics of the research, and he's also emphatic that it is not 100% without bias, but it is also a follow-up of the August research he conducted, an update on the August baseline to know which changes have occurred from August up until now, whether candidate support across the regions are increasing, what are the shifts and the balances in the various constituencies of the various regions according to the preferences of the delegates, Mawuena.
And there are concerns that his work may be influenced by some of the candidates coming on the back of his failed parliamentary bid on the ticket of the NDC. Did he explain that?
Well, we asked him about it, and what he's telling us is that he is indeed an interested party, and he's an interested party because of the fact that he is a member of the NPP. In fact, he contested the just a parliamentary seat during the primaries, but he was not able to win the seat. And he's saying that although he's an interested party, the poll that the research has conducted is without bias. It is following strict ethical and research standards, and it is just to help himself to be able to make a decision as to which camp he should follow, which camp he should belong to. So it is also to help the candidates to pick it up and then strategize on how to consolidate their gains or build up from where they are losing.
I'm an interested party. An interested party means I'm an MPP member. In fact, I actually was a parliamentary candidate. Okay, so I'm an MPP member. I am actually an interested party. Now, being an interested party here is a matter of within the MPP, what are the delegates actually saying? So the first polls that we did, if you looked at all my media engagement or my public engagement, it was the fact that Camp A had called me, Camp B had called me. And I needed to make a decision if I'm joining Camp A or Camp B. The research was done for my own decision. In other words, with no engagement with Camp A or with Camp B. And then I went on to do, so the first one we did was 8,000, which was not public. And then I increased it further to 20,000. And when I did the 8,000, I saw some pattern I had not expected. Then I went to 20,000. I saw that same pattern. That is when we made it public. As of today, have I decided? Not yet, because as I mentioned, it's not predictive. It is actually as at a period. So I did a second one with my team. And the reason why we did a second one was to realize that are we having the same winning team winning again? Because I need to make a decision. And eventually, I can say it on record. I have not taken any penny, and anybody who knows me very well. Credibility is very important when it comes to some of these things. Do I have friends in Camp A? Yes, I have friends. Do I have friends in Camp B? Yes, I have friends. Do I have friends in Camp C, Camp D? I have friends because I'm an MPP member.
And that's Dr. Kusi as well speaking. Earlier, my colleague Noble Crosby-Annan joined us via the phones. We're going for our very first break. When we return, that big subject matter is on our bill because the House returns tomorrow. Quite a number of bills expected, and as well the swearing in of some new members of Parliament. We'll get all of the details after the short break. Stay with us.
Welcome back. It's still News Central here on TV3. I'm Kemini Amanor. Let's bring you some other stories now. We'll take you to Parliament now, where members of Parliament will reconvene tomorrow from recess to deliberate on key national matters, including bills, motions, and policy statements. The upcoming meeting will be the final one for this year and is expected to feature a number of issues, including bills, motions, and statements. Let's connect now with Christian Yale, who's our correspondent on the ground. Christian, good afternoon to you. What can you report from Parliament?
All right, Kemini, so right now when you get to the presence of Parliament, there are some preparatory works that are ongoing from the main entrance to the chamber itself. And then when you see the, Job 600 building, which houses all the offices of the MPs, it is going to swing back in full action from tomorrow. But of course, we know that over the period of the recess, some of the committees have been working, like the Public Accounts Committee, as well as the Committee on Local Government and Rural Development, which have been holding a number of public hearings, and even as well, a number of press conferences by the minority as well as the majority caucuses. But see, there are a number of key items, some which you've already mentioned, and the major one on the ticket of Parliament is the reading or presentation of the 2026 budget, which would give us a good understanding of how government intends to spend in the 2026 fiscal year. And so the estimate for the various ministries, departments and agencies, and the passage of the appropriation. This usually would come with a lot of debate. Now, when you take that one aside, Kemini, we know that there are a number of legislative instruments that did not mature before the House went on recess the last time. So what it happens usually is that from the resumption, which is tomorrow, the counting for the maturity of those legislative instruments would resume automatically. And so those LIs wouldn't be reintroduced, but a subsidiary legislation committee will just go ahead to lay a report on it once the maturity date is set. Also, there are some bills like the Ghana Scholarship Authority Bill, which was opposed by some civil society organizations and also by some members of the minority, which would likely be back on the floor. But apart from that, another major one, Kemini, is the possible or the expected swearing in of the two new members of Parliament, i.e. Tamale Central for Professor Ali Duseidu and Akwetia for Bernard Bediako. I've had some, backdoor conversations with both of them, and they are brimming with hope and excitement ahead of the swearing in. But you also would expect some possible legislative instrument on legal education in Ghana, as well as Supreme Court rulings, and especially how Supreme Court justices are removed. Kemini.
Well, I see, Christian, what time do they come from recess tomorrow?
It is expected that the House would reconvene from 2 p.m. tomorrow. But obviously, before that would happen, you would have a lot of the MPs showing up to more or less have some tete-a-tete with their colleagues, as well as one interesting thing about even the numbers, because right now, when the two new MPs are sworn in, Kemini, you would know that the NDC, which is the majority, would have a total of 185 members plus the 4 independent members, making 189.
That's
and then
correct.
You would have the majority, which has lost one, which is the Akwatia seat, to now have a total of 87 members, which means that the majority would still extend its dominance in the House, one that the Speaker warned or cautioned them against its abuse in the drafting of legislative processes as well as government business.
Very well. So, Christian, tell us how both sides, as far as your observations and conversations are concerned, are preparing for tomorrow.
See, from tomorrow to Christmas break, there isn't much to do. It is relatively a short period. On the majority side, when you engage some of the MPs, they tell you that as a side that is for the government, they have to do much more to ensure that key agenda of the government are, achieved. or they are able to pass the necessary bills and regulations and the rest, or approvals are made for government to ably and smoothly ride in the 2026 fiscal year. When we talk about the minority, already they've held what they call the strategic pre-opening workshop, where the minority leader, address them and encourage them to have a united front, and also ensure that they oppose when it matters and proffer solutions. And so it means that both sides have already aligned their priorities going into this upcoming meeting, which is really going to be a very short one, but very tight with a lot on their agenda.
I see. Christian, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much for joining us with that report from Parliament, where the House will reconvene starting tomorrow.
And we're going to be bringing you a bit more in terms of news, but Christian with the details from Parliament for us, where, like we mentioned, the House is expected to reconvene tomorrow. But away from that, Western Regional Minister Joseph Nelson has urged security forces at the Elubu border to remain vigilant ahead of the Côte d'Ivoire October 25 presidential elections. The call comes after reports that about 1,500 Ivorians have entered Ghana in the last 3 months seeking safety. Irama Smith has more.
Ivory Coast is scheduled for its presidential elections on October 25, and already isolated cases of disturbances are being reported. Also being reported are some Ivorian nationals moving into Ghana through the Elubu border and other unapproved routes. It is on this premise that the Western Regional Minister on a visit to the border cautioned the border security to remain vigilant.
The situation is still very fluid, and so let's keep our eyes on, the inflow, so that we're able to check the security side of things, so we don't have any surprises. With your eyes wide open, so we don't get any criminals slipping through, the system to pose a challenge to us as far as our security is concerned.
Deputy Commissioner of Immigration Joshua Kreku of the Elubu Command disclosed that these persons do not usually declare themselves as asylum seekers upon entry, but often later appear in refugee camps.
Rationally, people are taking precautions by leaving the country to find safe havens, and then maybe after the elections, if everything is fine, they go back. So we have also noticed that the numbers are going up, maybe, but there isn't a situation where people are carrying their bags to cross the border to go there.
Fearing a resurgence of election violence, some Ivorians are reportedly seeking asylum in neighboring countries ahead of their presidential elections. This mirrors a pattern from over a decade ago, when post-election turmoil forced many to flee, with a significant number finding refuge in Ghana's Nzima enclave. Information being picked by TV3 News indicates approximately 1,548 Ivorians have entered Ghana within the last 3 months, though their precise locations remain unknown. At the Ampane refugee camp in the Elembele district, we learned there are almost 400 Ivorian refugees here. Didier Denyan is an Ivorian refugee.
Vous savez, dans un pays, quand on respecte la constitution, la démocratie, il n'y a pas de problème. Mais quand la constitution est foulée du pied, ça crée le désordre.
In a country, when the constitution and the democracy is in respect, there's not issue. But when they want to go over it, this is how civilian war comes to their country.
Ils ont éliminé les candidats potentiels à l'élection présidentielle.
Yeah, they just eliminated some of the potential candidates.
Il faut lui dire que quand la CPI a blanchi Laurent Gbagbo, en principe, on doit le rétablir au pouvoir.
He said when the former president came back of jail, they set him free for every charges. So normally, according to the rules and regulation, he was supposed to be put on the election list, but the government in charge refused.
C'est ce qui va que le désordre. Donc, c'est cette peur-là qui fait que les Ivoiriens fuient plus viennent ici.
This is the reason why most of Ivorians are running to come to Ghana, because they already experienced some past problems.
Irama Smith, TV3 News, Ampane.
Now, as part of efforts to create an enabling environment to maintain stability and fight disinformation and misinformation, European Union Ambassador to Ghana paid a working visit to Media General to explore new areas of collaboration between the two institutions. The ambassador applauded Media General for its fair, balanced reportage on issues.
General is a particular player in the Ghana media landscape due to its different platforms and outlet types, also due to its reach, and not least due to its quality of journalism. I think the various BBC prizes that journalists of Media General have received over the past couple of years speaks for themselves. We're trying to be a less traditional development cooperation organization and a much more of a strategic partnering. But it's clear that in the media landscape here in Ghana now, where issues that we're looking at is, firstly, it's investigative journalism. Secondly, it's about information manipulation. That is a real challenge, I think, in many countries, also in Ghana. And finally, it's about producing news in local languages in order to increase the outreach.
Skinibach is European Union Ambassador to Ghana. Now, Group CEO of Media General, Beatrice Ajimang, pledged her commitment to responsible and ethical journalism.
What we seek to do is to help to be the mouthpiece of a lot of organizations like yours. I know that you have focused generally on promoting good governance issues. Last year was an election year for us, and we partnered a lot of institutions, including the CDD, which I know you partner with, to look at a lot of issues on good governance. We have also worked with a lot of democratic institutions to put out their projects. So we help in promoting projects of organizations. That is what we are here to do. We discuss your projects with you, and we look at how to put them out. And we do this very well because we have the numbers. Our excitement as management is the fact that our social media platforms are growing at a very fast pace. So there are about 6 million Facebook population in this country. TV3 has over 4 million. And so if you put your projects on that platform, you have a much wider reach than you would put on your website.
Central live on TV3. We'll take another break. When we come back, a few more stories. Don't go away.
Now, in the country's rapidly evolving media landscape, bloggers and social media influencers are increasingly taking center stage, often wielding microphones and claiming the spotlight, traditionally reserved for journalists. The phenomenon has sparked debate about the blurring lines between professional journalism and citizen journalism. In the following report, Joseph Yukti tells how bloggers and others now use microphones to decorate their interviewees.
With the proliferation of social media platforms, non-media professionals are now creating content to vast audience. Bloggers and influencers have become the new power brokers, often landing coveted media assignments, making it difficult to strike a balance between the professionals and the untrained practitioners. The trend has raised concerns about the credibility and quality of media content. The most disturbing in recent times is how microphones are dotted on the shirts of interviewees, including ministers of state, creating a clutter. Security analyst Adib Sani said the practice may not pose security threat, but some bloggers and media practitioners should be properly trained.
So far as I am concerned, I don't think it poses any significant security threat. The only threat I see it pose is getting caught up in a hot mic situation. But these days, times have changed, and with security enhancements, I don't think anybody is capable of putting any explosive device in a camera. Besides, Ghana is a very peaceful country.
He called for a decent way of using such microphones.
Sometimes, in order not to cluster the person, you can place the mic where the speakers are and get your audio. Otherwise, you would have to seek the permission of the speaker before putting any mic on them.
Vice President of the Ghana Journalists Association, Rebecca Egbeta, said even though it is difficult to regulate and restrict the media space, practitioners, including bloggers, must exhibit professionalism.
This issue of multiplicity and duplicity of miking a person, especially with our public officials, has become something more contemporary. We're seeing that a lot within the media space. What I do know is that professionally, you can plan to have a pool somewhere, and then you have a central point where the journalists or the media can stream and pick the feed, both audio and television.
She called on bloggers and others in the new media space to invest in equipment and desist from practices that embarrass the media profession.
I know that the bloggers themselves have also realized they need to stay on top of issues when it comes to what they put out there. There's also a call on them to be more responsible and responsive to the issues that are happening within their environment. We need to invest in the equipment that we use for our job.
As the use of modern media gadgets continue to expand, some believe that proper regulation and technical vigilance is critical to ensure their safe and effective use.
Now, for many farmers in Ghana, government programs and policies such as Feed Ghana program will ensure agricultural transformation, boost domestic production, improve food security, and reduce import dependency. With climate change as a key limiting factor in achieving sustainable agriculture, especially in the northern part of the country, farmers want governments to ensure timely access to farm inputs and implement.
The Feed Ghana program was officially launched by President Mahama in April 2025 in Techiman. The goal of the program is to address challenges like low productivity and high food import costs, thus ensuring food security and propelling economic transformation through agriculture. Key components include support for various crop and livestock development, establishing farmer service centers, enhancing value chains, and promoting agribusiness for youth. Alhaji Isaaku Mahama is a commercial farmer in the Karaga district. He's been into commercial farming since 1997 after he exited Parliament as the first member of Parliament for the then Gushegu Karaga constituency. For him, the Feed Ghana program, if carefully implemented, will be a game changer in the agricultural sector.
As a farmer, I would like government to be more proactive to introduce every crop desk officer so that government can take stock data on crop by crop so that sustainability and efficiency of production will be adhered to, and then the program thereby succeed.
Like Alhaji Isaaku, Many farmers have lauded the flagship Feed Ghana program. They, however, want government to ensure that farm inputs are made available at the right time.
Government should try to help us with support, maybe soft loans that can cushion us to do our farming. All the inputs that we use in the farming season is not an easy task because it's too costly. Things are costly. Buying fertilizer, chemicals, and other things are not easy. Look at how the farm is very neat because we keep on applying those chemicals and fertilizers to it so that we can get a good yield.
On institutional farming under the program, the Central Gonja District Assembly has cultivated over 30 acres of maize, which is due for harvesting.
There's a need to go beyond training, sensitization, and possibly facilitating farmers to benefit and implement these policies. But rather, the institution as an assembly should be model institutions, implement the programs for other institutions and farmers to witness. And that is how come this farm was established.
With recent reports of farmers experiencing glut due to unavailability of buyers, government must ensure there is ready market accessibility for farmers. This will ensure that more people venture into agriculture, creating jobs and reducing Ghana's dependence on high food imports. A reduction in import costs will in turn help strengthen the Ghana cedi and improve the purchasing power of Ghanaians by lowering food costs. Christopher Mwako, TV3 News, Karaga.
That's our man Christopher in the northern part of the country for us, bringing us to the end of today's edition of The Bulletin. I am Mawuena Egbeta.
And I am Kemini Amanor. Next is the afternoon show. Bye-bye.